This is an Excel file for logging the information about the Electret ion chamber exposures, and on the second page down here, the second sheet, voltages, the calculations are done that result in the radon in air concentration in picocuries per liter. So going back to the first sheet, the deployment log, you can see that all these cells are yellow, which means that they're not locked, and you as the deployer are to enter information into them. So the first row is an example, and this is the Electret serial number. That is the number that's on the round Electret itself that you put into the reader to measure the voltage on. So the Electret serial number goes there, and then when you go out into the field, you can write this information down in your logbook or even take a printed copy of this, but then when you're back in your office, enter the start date and time, and you have to enter it in this format, March 18th, the year, and then a space, and then the time, and then when the measurement is stopped, the date and the time as well. And you can see it has to be in 24-hour format, so 1 o'clock in the afternoon is 1300. And then this information about the location, the city, state, and zip code, and this is all just for your information here. The floor, if you're making measurements in buildings with different floors, like you might want to develop a system for saying first floor for first floor, basement, and it's easiest to sort if you always say it the same way, if you always spell it the same way, so fully spelled out or an acronym for basement. And then the room, however you want to make a note of the room where the measurements are made, and keep in mind they shouldn't probably be made in bathrooms and kitchens where there's going to be a lot of humidity. So if it was off to the side of the kitchen, like an eating nook or a corner of the kitchen where it doesn't get humid, that might be okay. And then the height off the floor, and it should be at least 3 feet off of the floor in general. And then your name, if you've got different people who are going to be doing this with you. And then when you go to the second sheet by clicking on voltages, all the information that's in blue, you don't have to enter information into those cells. All that information is pulled from this deployment log. So it's going to pull in the start date and time and the end date and time, and it's going to fill that in just like it's done here for this first row. And then it automatically calculates, and you can see if you click on any of the blue cells, they're locked. So you just don't have to worry about messing up those calculations. And it automatically calculates that the total exposure was 9.17 days. And then these are yellow, so this is the information that you should enter. So the initial voltage, when you measured the voltage on the round Electret itself in the reader, in this case measured 810 volts, and then the final voltage after you take it out of where it was making the measurement back to your office, take the Electret out and carefully measure its voltage, 680 volts. And then based upon these two values, this spreadsheet calculates the calibration factor, and you don't have to worry about that, that's in blue. And then the configuration. In most cases for short-term measurements with short-term Electrets, you're going to be using the SST configuration, but if you're making longer term measurements, for example, or you have a different configuration, you would select those in the drop down box. And then the elevation in feet, and it does not have to be exact at all, just general for that state or general area. And then based upon what the feet are, if it's greater than 4,000 feet above sea level, it will calculate a calibration factor. If it's less than 4,000 feet above sea level, it doesn't matter. That calibration factor is going to be 1, so it essentially balances out. And then you will see here in these greenish gray fields, the concentration, 6.2 picocuries per liter, is calculated, and that's based upon the information that you entered in the deployment log. So most importantly, this right here, these two fields, which are automatically copied into these fields, and then it calculates the days, and then you enter the starting voltage and the ending voltage, the configuration, and the elevation above sea level, most especially if it's above 4,000 feet, then it makes a difference. And then the sheet calculates picocuries per liter, which is the concentration of radon gas in air.